Unreal didn't work on this computer. The game speed's tied to the frame rate, which meant everything went excessively fast, and even with my brightness all the way up, I couldn't figure out where to go because everything was so dark. I might come back to this one later, but whatever. Next game. Run the intro again. Man, Minit's a cool idea. The little guy in Minit can only live for about 60 seconds at a time due to a cursed sword, but comes back to life each morning, or some thereabouts, and heads off to take care of the curse and go on a Zelda 1-inspired adventure. Minit's visual design is actually really lovely. The monochrome look gives the game almost a sort of TI-83 or Game & Watch vibe. It's a very low-end experience with a lot of heart, and the soundtrack is adventure-y and upbeat. It's a spot-on presentation. Mechanically, only having 60 seconds in each day seems like it'd hold you back, but there's honestly a lot to figure out, and you're always unlocking new ways to get around. In my first playthrough, I clocked about 70 minutes and didn't even have half the collectibles, and knew a few secret routes I wanted to take, but never did. Minit is a Zelda clone of sorts, and with that you'd expect some puzzle solving and combat, and yes indeed you have both. The sword play in Minit is almost exactly that of the original Zelda, save for a bonus ranged attack you can pull off later in the game. The puzzles though are actually a bit tricky. Most of the challenge comes in getting there, figuring out what to do, and doing it in 60 seconds. You don't always start from your actual home though. You can rent new places like an island resort, a desert camper, and a rundown hotel that might be closer to your destination. Along the way, you're picking up coins, heart containers, and the occasional It Makes Sense in Context branded tentacle. And if you go for 100% completion, it might take you a few hours, but the rewards are definitely worth it. Minit only has one boss fight, but without plenty of heart containers, making progress in it is rather difficult, and if you find 7 coins, you can unlock running shoes, get around quicker, though you can beat the game with 3 hearts and the normal movement speed. I have 2 major gripes with this game. First off, like Unreal, your frame rate dictates the game speed, but to a lesser degree. But that means some minutes are shorter than others by several seconds, a factoid that makes me irrationally angry when I say it out loud. But because your movement speed is dictated by the game speed as well, you still make it to where you need to be at proportionally the same rate, but your reaction time just needs to be faster. My other gripe is I actually had no idea why I was headed to the Sword Factory, which is the game's final dungeon, until I put the pieces together writing this review. If you're not paying attention to the world around the game, you might also miss that your sword is responsible for your 60-second lifespan, and when you make it to the factory, you'll go, okay, my first major dungeon, and then it turns out to be your last major dungeon, and you're kind of just expecting another half of the game. While here it's not bad, I'm glad it doesn't overstay its welcome. Thank you sincerely to the devs for not trying to make a 10-hour adventure where there doesn't need to be one, but it could have been nice to see a little bit more of an obvious build-up. I get that in hindsight the swords coming out of the factory are cursed from the start and everyone's not happy, but they need cursed swords to stay alive in a dangerous world, but maybe having other roaming NPCs I meet with their own swords, and they expire during my run as their 60 seconds is up or something like that could have helped me realize why I was heading to the sword factory and bringing them to a stop. Still, it makes sense in hindsight, it definitely works, and either way, I definitely enjoyed Minit. Could I sum up my feelings for the game in 60 seconds? I mean, just look at the length of this video. Yeah, that's not happening unless we speed up the audio. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, I'd recommend subscribing. Patreon and social media links are in the description.